I've been thinking about what trauma does. And of course, reviewing from when I ran an acute psych unit in the South Bronx in the early 70s, experimental. And I mentioned it in She Believes She Was Cursed. I may mention it on others, I don't know. But I realized that that was also a training ground to find murderers. What do I mean by that? That and a couple of other things that happened early on in my life where I realized I could suddenly, kind of like a puzzle, I could connect the different pieces and, oh, there's my answer. And so when I started working the first time, it was suddenly knowing that a particular person was the rape murderer of a woman. I never knew who the woman was. I'm looking at it today and going, I never knew. I never knew who the woman was. I just gave them what I had. And then they told me he confessed. I didn't read it in the papers. I don't know why or what. I have no clue. And I don't even know the outcome other than he confessed and went to prison for life. That was but I don't know anything else about it. And I thought, it still led to something. And I believe that the reason I could feel that murderer is all the people I worked with in the psych unit, because they were acute psychotics, had 10-day stay, 12 beds, single rooms, 12 single rooms, and a reevaluation or a diagnosis. And I can recall one, man, I'm smiling, but I go down to the emergency room, and the psychiatrist in that room, it was a little room, narrow, and there were 2 chairs, and the psychiatrist is behind the desk, kind of back into the corner. I'm thinking, and a slip of a man, maybe 5'2", slim, was seated on one chair, and I sat on the other. And I look at him, and we're talking, and one thing leads to another. I said, why don't you look at me? And he said, well, if I do, they're going to tell me to kill you. I said, oh, keep your face straight forward. And I'm thinking, psychiatrist is backed out there, terrified. I'm sitting next to a potential killer. So tell me, have you ever had these feelings before? Oh, yes, that's why I'm here. I said, tell me about them. He said, well, I was in Mattawan State Prison for 15 years for killing 12 people. I said, how did you kill them? He said, I strangled every one of them. I said, oh, and they let you out? He said, I guess I did my time, but I feel like I'm ready to do it again, and I'm scared of that. I don't want to hurt anybody anymore. I said, good for you. You're coming with me, and I'll tell you how to do that, because I'll walk behind you. So, and that was only one of many, including knife wielding. Yeah. A child molester caught in the middle of an act, and police picked them up. He came in handcuffed. We had lovely people. But I am saying to you, flash forward from 72 and 1980, when the police started calling on me, it was easy for me to spot what I call extreme spikiness in a person, extreme rage internally, extreme, ready to burst out, or has. Because I got really good at it there. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted, literally, figuratively. It was really weird. I had free reign of sitting down and saying anything I needed, seeing anything, and they all backed me up on it. And the more I could do it and the more confidence I got, the easier it was, of course, to help. And I'm not talking about breaking rules, except once. But that was a fun one. You want to know that one? That was really funny. Sorry. You'll hear why. So we had a manic depressive woman who was bright orange hair, big orange caftan, and in a manic phase, and sexually impulsive all over the place, anywhere. And she was in, and it was Sunday. And Sunday, the dining room staff was short. And always they brought the food up because this is a acute psych unit. They didn't want us down there. but they couldn't bring the food. And I said, if you don't, we have to come down there and eat. And they slammed the phone down. They said, we're not coming. So I had one assistant, a friend, another nurse, and I said, Jose, let's go get all of them, put them in the middle of the room where we are. It was like a big living room. And I said, folks, there were about 11 of us. I think there was one empty bed. I said, we're going down to the dining room. Turns out it was the doctor's dining room. That was the only one open. And I said, what I want you to do there is anything you want. Yep. And so we went down there, and the woman was, I don't know, and she was manic, and she's in line. And she says to the man who is putting the food on the plate, don't you touch my food. Nasty as all. And he slams down the ladle, and the dietitian or chief cook, I don't know what she was, standing right by him. She said, you have no choice. You must feed them. Boom, boom, boom. And now Miss Manic face is livid. And she sees there are cartons of milk. Mm-hmm. Do you get the picture? She starts throwing them. And she throws them at the doctor sitting on the dining room table. They run out. And she starts throwing them everywhere. And one other joins in the act. The rest are standing there kind of suicidally depressed or hallucinating, very busy in their own head, whatever. But the two joined in. And we then sat and ate. And the next day I get called into the supervisor nurse, Gayla. And she's looking at me. She goes, so I heard what you did yesterday. The whole hospital was talking about it. I said, oh, she said, yeah. She said, you will always be served, no matter if there's one person in the kitchen. Thank you. You did a great job. And that's what I mean by confidence. They just knew when we had to do it differently in order to get everybody fairly taken care of, right? However, she was a manic nut, really scary to some people. For me, I learned the only way I could relate to all that, how do you put it? Like an unrestrained storm, right? Inside them. I had to talk with them as if they were a human being. And so when we got back into the unit, I said to her, that was a great job you did. Thank you, because we'll always probably be able to eat now. They got the message. I said, however, here, you're not doing anything like that. You get me? And she looked at me. I said, no, the first time you do that is the first time I take all the food away, and you won't be served. You will have crumbs left. Oh, okay. Just like that. And I learned sometimes you can do that with them and get through, and sometimes you can't. So back to the murderers. That first murder case, I never considered talking to the victim because I didn't know who the victim was. They wouldn't tell me. I guess I could have found out later, but I was busy going on another case, one after another. Besides, I had full-time private practice as a psychic, and I had 1 day a week I would go out to another state at a psychiatrist's office and work from about 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. breaks, giving sessions, readings to his clients, and then to him, final. And I also did it the day before in first New York, then Connecticut, 2 places. And I need to continue my work. And until I felt I couldn't do everything. But the murderers, it was interesting, and the crime victims after that, because I got to know what was going on. I had a very interesting experience. This was a little tricky, so bear with me. I can only tell you a little piece of it for safety's sake. Tom Manning was put in life imprisonment along with, I forget his real name, Uncle Dave, they called him, who was in another prison, I think. They kept them apart. And he got half an hour or an hour a week to see somebody. And a man was writing a book on Tom, and the killing of the state trooper. That's what this is about. And I went with him. He asked me if I would go, and I said, sure, because I participated, and I can't tell you anything about that for good reasons. Just trust me when I say safety first for everybody and everything. Okay? I made my own oath when I started working. That's why you only see adjudicated cases in my book, The Life of a Psychic Detective, and in the animal one, anything that was safe for me to say. Really important to stay safe and make sure your family is safe, because what if they get out? I thought of it all, and fortunately, the police I worked with at the beginning were very good at that, protecting me too, and explaining, and just, we batted it around how to do this best. Okay, so Tom Manning. Tom was a really good-looking guy, and he kept himself fit, and he's in this prison that the journalist and I attend, and I'm looking at him because there was a moment in time in the work, they had a bench warrant that I knew was not the right one, that there were two men involved, but the second one, not Tom, but the second one is not the one. And I told them, a man named Uncle Dave, and it turned out I was right. So I'm looking at Tom, and I'm seeing he didn't murder anybody. Why did he say he did it? He and Uncle Dave both got life imprisonment for killing a state trooper. One of them did it, so they would both go down for it anyhow, because they were both there. And they both ran away. So they were both guilty. But I knew he didn't pull the trigger. And when he said something to me, he said, "You're familiar." I said, "I might be. I may have done something in the case." He said, "Oh." He said, "Any comments?" I said, "You're not a killer." He didn't say a word. I didn't get the same feeling about him that I believe if I had met Uncle Dave, I would have gotten. And that, I realize, is a combination of facts. So people who are curious and interested in the field, or loving to solve mysteries of any sort, think that it's not all suddenly in the air for you, channeling, tuning in. It's a combination. For me, I see that my whole history led me to want to know more psychology, wanted to know more about abnormal psychiatry. You know, if you have a background where you've been exposed to strange behavior and you're young and you feel it's not appropriate, you're probably right. And if you get curious enough to try and understand, one, so you let go of hurting over it or hating over it, so that you can continue your own life, worthwhile moments, rather than keep paying the price for somebody else's behavior. You realize you have a body of psychological experience and understanding that matters to how you tune in and your clarity. So I think that one of the reasons I can get to the victims, yes, it takes a lot of compassion and willingness. But on the other hand, if you look at the history of the world, it's always been crazy. It's always had lots of terrible things happen. I just decided, well, I would rather, because I do believe that the other side is the other side, that they still exist in spirit and soul, just not in form, before birth, before conception, after, whatever, after death. There's an existence we all have. That's my belief. That's my experience, my worldview. Whether it's true fathers or not, we're all entitled to our own. This is mine. And I feel like, well, then the crime victims probably matter a lot more, and their families. And that's where things changed for me, where I wanted to still understand what makes somebody do such crazy stuff, but I don't think we'll ever stop all of them. My personal opinion. Sorry. However, I do believe that the innocent who pay a price, be they still alive or on the other side, deserve our love, our compassion, and all the help. So if they don't want to tell us who did what and when, trust it. Trust them. If they tell us, it's because it's ready and we're the right receiver. And there are many I have not been able to help. I want you to understand there is no 1000% everything we can do, 1, 2, 3. It takes hours, months, years sometimes, and sometimes never, and sometimes right away. But that's because there is this resonance between you being called upon to do the work in that moment and the whole situation. Is like an orchestrated resonance of now, says the victim. Now, says the killer. We're all ready to give it to the light. I don't think it happens without that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. I'm just looking at everything and going, interesting. It's an idea. I want your ideas. Okay, so if you don't mind, if you go to subscribe, I'd love it. And if you go to make comments, I would love to hear your input. Let's get to know each other. And I'll also be posting a great contest giveaway. On my birthday, I'm putting it out. See you then. Oh, when's my birthday? Not telling you. You'll have to look at the next few tubes. Maybe. I'm hoping I get it done by then. Take care.